Welcome back, guys. The world's best procrastination session of all time has arrived. Basically, this is my off-season Yankees blog. I talk about a bunch of stuff. Today I'm going to be talking about change and no change. This is what the Yankees have done so far this winter. They've done a lot of things. They've made some cool moves. They've stood pat unexpectedly. So, one way or another, through action or through inaction, the Yankees have made a series of choices that have really shaped their off-season roster. The second week of January, we're getting into a time where roster construction is usually complete for the most part. This winter might be different. There's still quite a few impact players in the market. Yoenis Cespedes being an example. But as a general rule, we really expect the roster we see right about this point to be really similar to the one we'll see on the first day of spring training. So what exactly have the Yankees done this offseason to better their roster? At some positions, they've been active, making moves significantly to impact the situation at catcher, second base, the bullpen. Other positions, they've been really quiet, sticking to their multi-year contracts. An example, Chase Headley. In the outfield as well, starting pitching, shortstop. The positions where they've remained mostly unchanged. First base, for example, there's been decision-making involved. Some cases, the decision-making has involved exploring trading without making them. Here's a position-by-position look at what the Yankees have done so far this offseason. Starting with catcher, for the second winter in a row, the Yankees have traded a pretty successful, not very expensive backup catcher in order to acquire a young major league role player. In doing so, they've opened the door for a prospect to step into the big league bench job. By trading John Ryan Murphy this winter, the Yankees have opened up the possibility of Gary Sanchez breaking camp in the big leagues. Obviously, Gary Sanchez is one of the longtime Yankee prospects, been at the level for 5 years now. Considered one of the top prospects in the system at one point. Lost a little bit of ground, but gained it back this year in the Arizona Fall League. They've also left some opportunity for Austin Romine to compete for a job. Although they lost depth, they perhaps improved the offensive potential of their bench as well, including Dustin Ackley, Aaron Hicks, and potentially Gary Sanchez as well. So overall, they've really created an opportunity for the catchers, trusted the farm system, and have really put time and effort into it, as the last many years, as Yankee fans know, have not been great farm-wise. Moving over to first base, the Yankees say they really have no plan to carry Greg Bird on the big league roster out of spring training. They've also refrained from trading Bird this offseason as well, along with Aaron Judge, Luis Severino, Jorge Mario, and Gary Sanchez in the mix as well. Essentially, the Yankees seem to be sticking to their script. They have one more year of Mark Teixeira, who's coming off a fantastic season, almost MVP caliber had he not been injured. They also have Bird waiting as an exciting backup option should he get hurt, also coming up next year when his contract seemingly expires. If all goes as planned, the transition should happen again next season when Teixeira hits the open market and Bird has a clear path to the big leagues. So the Yankees really have just stayed the course with an eye towards their transition in the near future. As for second base, the Yankees have a new way of doing business. In the 2 years after Robinson Cano left, the Yankees tried to fill the void with a pair of low-cost veterans. An example, Brian Roberts and Stephen Drew. They never really met those expectations. That being said, Brian Cashman's newest MO was to trade for young, cost-controlled former top prospects. An example, Dustin Ackley, Aaron Hicks, and now Starlin Castro. It seems to have blocked a clear opportunity for prospect Rob Refsnyder to come up to the big leagues. However, it has built depth at second base and filled it with a young guy who could pair with Didi Gregorius for years to come. Also turns a deadly double play combination with two really slick defenders. Although Starlin Castro is new at second base, he seems to be very comfortable. So the Yankees have basically taken advantage of a buy low opportunity without trading away any of the top in-house options like they wanted to. Third base is seemingly still a position of weakness for the New York Yankees because although they did sign Chase Headley to a 4-year commitment, they also just watched him deliver the worst seasons of his career. So tied to this contract, likely with very little outside trade interest, the Yankees have little choice but to stick with their commitment to Chase. But what's very interesting is that they've really done nothing to add more depth to the position. If anything, they've lost a lot of depth by trading away Jose Pirela and Eric Jagallo. A few minor league free agents have added utility options to the mix, but the Yankees are really, really thin and relatively weak at third base. So all they can really do is cross their fingers and hope for better from Chase Headley over the next 3 years of this contract. Obviously, the shortstop position is a developing story, and it's a great one as well, because last winter, Derek Jeter had retired. When it came time to replace him, however, the Yankees really sold high on Shane Green, the top pitching prospect, and bought low on Didi Gregorius. After 1 year, the trade looks pretty promising. Gregorius was a really strong defender, became a really useful hitter in the second half in his Yankees debut. Now the position is his for the immediate future as of now. The Yankees have upgraded their backup shortstop as well by trading for Castro, signing defensive-minded Pete Kozma as well. But there was never really indication that they were even considering someone other than Gregorius as their big league regular. Perhaps the most important shortstop's decision of their offseason is going to be not trading their lower-level prospect, Jorge Matteo. So overall, the Yankees have really stuck with their developing player while also adding a number 2 option who can actually hit. Now, the outfield is really open to change because since Carlos Beltran is basically the only Yankees outfielder limited to one position, it's really best that we lump all the outfielders in one big heading. So by trading for Aaron Hicks, the Yankees have really added youth and potential to their bench. At the very least, Hicks seems to be able to fill Chris Young's role, who was lost to the Red Sox as a platoon hitter, with just a slightly better defense. There's also a chance he could develop into an everyday option if his left-handed swing shows some more improvement, as he is a switch hitter. Aside from Jay Cave, who we lost in the Rule 5 draft to the Cincinnati Reds, the Yankees have also kept their considerable upper-level outfield depth intact, including Aaron Judge. The Yankees were, and presumably are, open to trading Brett Gardner, but they have so far not really found a return that they've deemed worthwhile. So overall, they've really filled the hole on the bench while exploring a more drastic change in the outfield. This could lead to a big future as Carlos Beltran's contract expires at the end of this season. Obviously, any baseball fan would be aware of the Yankees' designated hitter situation with Alex Rodriguez. Now, the most obvious decision has been the Yankees' instance that A-Rod remains an offense-only player next season, meaning he won't play any third base, maybe even first base. There seems to be really no chance that the team will give him significant time in the field, and they might even keep him off the field entirely. But in upgrading their bench, a switch-hitting fourth outfielder, perhaps the potential of Gary Sanchez, an interesting left-handed hitter in Dustin Ackley, the Yankees have really created more opportunity to mix and match at the designated hitter position, giving A-Rod more days off while giving guys like Tex, Beltran, and maybe even Brian McCann a few more half days off as well. They've really upgraded their bench to create a lot more options to mix and match with a designated hitter role. As A-Rod is getting older, he hasn't really shown much signs of regression, however, it is a concern in the near future. Now, the rotation from David Price to Shelby Miller to Zach Greinke to Jeff Samardzija even. The price of starting pitchers went through the roof. The Yankees weren't really shy about their desire to add rotation pieces. They've made it really clear that they want to improve it in the near future. However, they were also in a really strange situation with 5 starters already in place. The rotation has potential to be really good or potential to just be really bad. So instead of making a really big move to help the rotation, the Yankees really added some small pieces while actually trading away perhaps some of their best candidates for 6th starter in Adam Warren. Now, there still might be time to make a move of some sort, but for now it seems like the Yankees are really comfortable and they're going to try to address their pitching from the back end and really hope for the best out of their rotation. Now, the Yankees bullpen has potential for serious dominance heading into the 2016 campaign. Heading into the offseason, we all knew the Yankees would need a new right-handed outfielder. We knew there was a good chance they would add a second baseman and maybe even a starting pitcher as well. What we didn't know was they could significantly restructure the entire makeup of their bullpen by trading away Adam Warren and Justin Wilson, but not only that, adding Aroldis Chapman. Because closers were really valuable in this market, the Yankees were considering a trade of Andrew Miller. I suppose that could be a possibility still, could be in the mix, but instead they've chosen to keep Miller, keep Betances, and add flamethrower Aroldis Chapman to create potentially the best 1-2-3 bullpen combination in history. There are still bullpen issues to be decided as well, with Nick Goody, Nick Rumbelow, Jacob Lindgren also coming up to try to take spots. But the Yankees have really built a solid bullpen, maybe one of the best in baseball at this point, which could really push them forward and make them the contender going into 2016. After missing out on October for 2 straight years, the Yankees made it back to the playoffs in 2015 on the strength of an 87-win campaign. The downside, their stay in October lasted only 1 game, losing to the Houston Astros led by Dallas Keuchel in the wildcard game. As such, the Yankees contending in 2016 will come down to what else they can do, and there are a lot of question marks. With Jacoby Ellsbury and Brett Gardner up top and A-Rod Teixeira, Castro, Brian McCann, and Carlos Beltran all in the middle of that order, the Yankees lineup could be a really well-balanced dynamo. But given the age and consistency questions lingering over those names, it could also be the decidedly meh unit that was in the final 2 months of 2015. With Tanaka leading the charge, followed by the talented arms belonging to Severino, Eovaldi, Michael Pineda, and maybe even CC Sabathia, the Yankees' rotation could also be a major strength. There are also health and consistency questions here too, as well as experience concerns regarding Luis Severino. This time last year, the general opinion of the Yankees was that they weren't that bad, but they wouldn't need much to go right to be good. Looking at them now, it's easy to have the same exact feeling. This is a team that looks destined for around 85 wins, with large margins for error on either side. Fortunately, the Yankees may not face much pressure from the upcoming Tampa Bay Rays. All in all, the 2016 season could be a very promising one for the New York Yankees.